Hey everybody, I am so excited to be here today with Ash Wilking. She is, I don't even know where to start. She is a Rumble instructor, a badass brand owner of her recently launched app, Badash. She is, I mean, it says here, and I need to ask you about this. It says that you are also an alligator wrestler. You are a triathlete. You won the New York City Triathlon in 2017, which I mean, I feel like I would just be like, okay, I could die right there. Like that feels like such a ridiculous accomplishment. But I mean, you do it all. And I'm so happy to have you. So welcome to the show.
I wish everybody could see the really ridiculous smile on my face right now. But thank you so much, one, for that intro, and two, for inviting me onto the show. I've been looking forward to this for quite some time.
Oh, thank you. The alligators, can we talk about that for a second?
So it's always the number one, I would say it's the number one reason that people end up taking my class at Rumble, not because they follow me on Instagram or they know who I am. They're like, I read your bio. And I'm like, yeah, that's the alligators. So I'm from Southern Louisiana, right outside of New Orleans. A pretty small town, not the tiniest town, but a small town. But we're hugging right up against the we're in between the river and the lake, and we're a swampy town kind of. So there were always alligators in the canal in my backyard. And when my brother and I were old enough, and I put that in big air quotes because I'm pretty sure we were like 12 and 13, we found a way to like catch the alligators and safely transport them from the canals, which, because a lot of times like they'll either venture into the roads, it's a residential area.
Yeah,
So
they
we did
get
it
stuck
out
in
of
the
like
wrong
the
ones.
kindness of our heart. We literally transported them to there's a like an alligator sanctuary that they use to do like alligator tours, but they take care of them. So we would transport them back to the
Wow.
safe
Oh
swampy
my
area.
God.
So
So, okay,
yeah.
cool. So you're a
when
triathlete.
this when this launches, I will find the photo and I will just be like, hey guys, podcast is up, and then I'll just put the picture of the
I'm
alligator of
so
me as a
excited for
12-year
that.
old.
Oh my God.
So
That's amazing. I mean,
yeah.
wow. Okay. So already the most interesting guest award goes to you.
Win.
Uh, so walk me back. Like, when did your health and wellness journey start? When did
Yeah.
you sort of get into becoming an athlete?
Oh, well, it really started when I was a kid. Let's be honest. I'm again from the South. We didn't really grow up with the TV. We didn't have Netflix. We didn't have all these crazy apps and all this. It was like, are you bored? Here's a football. Are you bored? Here's a bicycle. And we were just outside all the time. And my siblings and I, we did swimming. I always tell the story. I got into karate because I was jealous of my brother. So my sister and I were in dancing, and my brother was kind of like crazy, obviously hyper as a young boy. And my parents were like, we have to put him in a sport. My mom can't do like outside sports because she has vitiligo, so she can't be in the sun. So all of our sports were based around like either trying to be indoors or like evening sports. So they put him in karate, and he came home with his karate gi on. And I was like, I want to do that. My mom's like, no, you have to make a decision. Do you want to dance? And I think she tried to use it as a, you can't do both. And I don't think she expected me to be like, fine, I don't want to do ballet anymore. And I just like dove headfirst into karate. So, I really started as an athlete as a kid, but then it wasn't an athlete. I was just active, and I was just having fun and playing with my friends. And it just led into high school sports. I played intramurals in college because LOL, I went to LSU. So unless you are like ready for the Olympics, you're not on any of their sports teams. But I was big fan, intramurals. And then when I moved to the city, honestly, it was, how do I get out of this one bedroom apartment that's now has a pressurized wall and is a 2-bedroom apartment? What can I do to be outside of these teeny tiny areas? It also was the only way that I really knew how to meet people. I, you know, met people in group fitness had just started really when I moved to the city. So it was like meeting people at classes. I got into triathlons because one of the girls at my first corporate job was like, hey, I'm doing this team and training triathlon. Would you want to train with me? I've, never ridden a bike. I've never been a swimmer. Maybe you could like kind of give me some pointers. I'm like, okay, sure. And, it led into, I joined this team to train for a triathlon, had no idea what I was doing. And then, one thing led to another. So honestly, that's how I am sitting here right now.
I mean, that's amazing. So it sounds like, well, what year did you move to the city?
Oh, I'm going to give away my age. No, I'm kidding. I'm getting to that age. No, I've been here for 10 years. So
Okay.
I moved to New York days after I graduated from college.
Okay.
Literally days.
Yeah.
I bought my one-way ticket, had my garage sale, was like, let's do this. And I
I
moved
love
to the
that.
city.
Yeah, it's so funny. And I've talked to a lot of guests about this recently, and it's just like what happened in those years in boutique fitness is like I feel so lucky to have been part of it. Like
Yeah,
I started working for Lululemon because I needed a job. I didn't know what was going to
that
happen.
it would be
And
massive.
it
And
was
yeah, of
like,
course.
even like when we opened the Flatiron store, like there were already a lot of studios in that area, but it just the boom is truly insane. And I think
Right.
like there is something special about just having been in that community at that time. Like
I
it
mean, I
is
think
so
some of our
interesting.
favorite conversations, let's be honest, are, do you remember when?
Yeah.
And it was like, do you remember when you couldn't actually book your treadmill and you all stood outside the door? And when the instructor opened the door, you had to run and get your spot. And
Yeah.
if somebody was faster than you didn't get the treadmill you wanted. You know,
Yeah. Yeah.
that was the case. Like I remember my first Soul Cycle class in Tribeca. Like there wasn't an Upper East Side, an Upper West Side. There was,
Yep.
I remember my first instructors in every studio that I took. I mean, I also remember being nervous before every single workout class because I didn't know if I would survive. I, I remember remember when Soul Cycle had the bands? I don't know if you
Yes.
remember the band class. Like that was
Yeah.
one of my favorite classes. It just, it's funny to talk back to like that way back when. Like
Yeah.
I'm becoming like my parents now. Like back in the beginning of group fitness, let me tell you how it was for us. And
So true. Okay. So, something that I am just so inspired by with what you do is that you have a lot of different things going on, but you do them all really well. And I think that is a huge challenge for a lot of entrepreneurs, in fitness and not in fitness. But for the sake of this podcast, like I talk to instructors and studio owners and people who are in the health and wellness field. So, I think there is a misconception that like if you're a trainer at X, you're a trainer there. Or if you are going down the route of starting your own app, like that's what you're doing.
mhm,
Talk to me a little bit about, all the things you have going on and how you kind of balance having different companies and different obligations. Like what sort of
right.
boundaries do you put in place for yourself?
So I'll preface it with that hasn't always been the case. And I think a lot of instructors and can understand this is that, 2 years ago, you weren't allowed to be with multiple studios. We definitely had to deal with the exclusivity of being with studios. Um, and in the same breath, teaching these classes that didn't really make enough money for us to only be with one studio. So, it was definitely a challenge over the past few years, kind of growing my business, like growing myself as an instructor, my brand, how I, teach classes and whatnot. But, I think it's hard not to have this conversation without, acknowledging the big elephant in the room of the pandemic. But it changed a lot of our lives. And for me specifically, it allowed me to really kind of, one, take a step back, and two, be in a few different places. Because before I was very linear with where I was going. I was with group fitness, one studio. If and when at one point I decided to change studios, it was a big deal and you couldn't be with other studios. So, for the longest time, people really only knew me. And from the very beginning, right, they knew me as Ash with this smaller studio, Ash with the boot camp studio, and then Ash as boxing and with Nike. And I think this past year is the first time that I've been able to be like, I am Ash, and you can catch me at Rumble, or you can catch me on Ashfit, or you can catch me on this live workout with Women's Health. So it was the first time that I was able to really pull myself back and then, plant my flag as I'm Ash, and here are all the things that I can do, and realize that I can only reach so many people in New York City through Rumble, right? And I love what I do, but there's a part of me that wants to meet Sarah that lives in Illinois, and I want to like talk to Susan that's in Texas. And, I want to meet these people. And what I didn't realize was initially I was thinking about these small towns like what I grew up in. And then all of a sudden I was meeting people in Germany and Canada and South America. And I was able to connect with people all around the world. And for me, that was like, wow, I can really do what I love and reach more people if I'm able to diversify myself. And that's kind of what the past year has been about.
Yeah.
And
I
I
think
will say,
it is so amazing, just people that have been able to connect with other communities beyond, like it definitely teaching a class through a computer screen is not ideal. And that's not why anybody got into this. But
right.
when you kind of look at that with you are able to connect with people that maybe were like you, like, all they had in their town was to go outside and go work out and have fun and be athletic. And then they can look at you and say like, wow, okay, she took that, she turned it into this. This is what she's doing now. Like
Right.
that is definitely just a special side of it.
Yeah. I mean, a few years ago, look, if anyone in a smaller town or outside of the big cities of like LA, New York, Miami, you couldn't access these, and I say these trainers, you couldn't access these workout methods or group fitness classes or learn from anyone that you maybe admired as a trainer or wanted to work with because you didn't have access to them. So it gives us the opportunity to reach people and to kind of share what we love outside of where we are immediately based.
Definitely. So, okay, how do you contextualize everything that you're working on? Do you say like, Monday and Wednesday are my Ash Fit days, Thursday is my Rumble day? Like or are you just like, a million tabs open all the time?
So first off, I have to like backtrack probably like 3 or 4 minutes and say thank you so much for thinking that I am handling all of it very well and that everything, like I've got it all organized, because in reality, my dishes are piled up in the sink. I've got lights sitting on my coffee table. My rug is moved over because I'm filming in an apartment. Like the biggest thing to realize is that it is not what it is what it seems like. But I do appreciate that because I bust my tail to get it done and to do what I love. But I think that would be 100% my hardest challenge. And my biggest challenge is really finding the time to manage all of it. And I'm leaps and bounds ahead of where I was a few months ago. I'm still learning. Um, you know, if I could ever actually hire someone to be on my team to just like help me organize a calendar, I think I would literally take over the world because it's the hardest thing to do. But it has gotten to that point where and the biggest thing is I've had to say no. Like, first and foremost, I have to say no to a lot of things because I have to say Monday mornings from 6 a.m. to 8 to 9 a.m., I'm filming for AshFit. I have a client at this time. I know that those videos have to be edited. So I need this amount of time. Oh, by the way, our studios are open back up. Great. I have in-person classes that takes me an hour to bike to teach the class, an hour to bike back home. Like I genuinely do have to look at my calendar minute to minute almost and block out even commuting time. And yeah, that's the reality of it. I have to create these boundaries, and the biggest thing is really understand where I want to go. So if I want my hands in all of these different locations, and if I want to be teaching in person and on Rumble TV and for Equinox and for AshFit, I have to understand like what percentage I want to be involved in all of those and actually look at the pie chart and be like, okay, Ash, you can only put this much time into AshFit this week. And I have to accept that. And if that's not the reality, then I have to say no to something else, or I have to give up something else, or I have to make a decision and start moving in a different direction.
Yeah. It's funny though, because I feel like, when you are teaching for Rumble TV and Equinox Plus, like you're teaching for all these things that the ultimate goal is visibility, right? And
Yeah,
like
of course.
the more people have eyes on you, the better ultimately that probably is for AshFit. So
Right.
it's probably just like, I imagine that gets stressful. You're like, okay, well, I have to do it. It's not going to directly impact, but it will
Right.
over the long haul. And it's kind of
No,
like
I
long-term
will
vision.
say that Ash 3 years ago probably would have thought about it in that way, to be honest. And I'm being 100% honest, but the Ash now is, yes, obviously that's part of like visibility, but there's much more of that genuine when someone reaches out and is like, I just took your class on Equinox and I am blown away and I've never met you before, but I just want to say thank you. Like I want to take the time to like connect with that person.
Yeah.
You know, to be able to create workout programs that some of my mom's friends messaged me about back home, and they're like, I can finally do a workout program because you made it for me, and I feel like you made it for me. Like that's the most important part for me.
Yeah.
If you look at my Instagram and if you look at like the statistics behind my Instagram, you would consider me a failure. 100%. You would consider because I don't,
Oh.
because the reality is like I'm not focused on that growth, right? I'm not focused on like those numbers don't grow that much anymore for me. If they do, amazing and like so exciting. But when I look at AshFit and I have a few more members this week, those numbers mean the most to me because, and not even in the sense of like members, but like people that I get to connect with one-on-one. So, you know, I think that it's how you look at it, really. You know, it's yes, I want to be successful, but how I look at my business is not the same, you know, as before. Yes, Instagram's important. I probably should have done TikTok a year ago, but no, I haven't. You know, I probably should post on my Instagram 3 times a day. I don't.
Yeah.
Right. When brands reach out and they're like, hey, we'd love to work with you, but we need you to send statistics. I was like, great, totally fine. But I'm just going to let you know that if you want to see the numbers on my Instagram, they're not going to be what you consider successful.
Yeah.
I am much better with, you know, connecting with people one-on-one and meeting with people in person when we can again, than I am focusing on an Instagram post. Right. And let's be honest, I know like anybody who's in marketing is like, Ash, you're missing it. Ash, you're missing it. Don't miss out on the marketing opportunity of social media. But it's just, again, there's that pie, and I've got very little percentage that can be dedicated to digital and creating that content.
Yeah.
Because in reality, it's, am I going to put up an Instagram post today? Or am I going to get my taxes done? Am I going to train my client? Or am I going to actually get these workouts done and posted for AshFit and or teach in person? So it's a tough.
And no, and I mean, I think that's actually a really amazing way to look at it, because I've been talking to a lot of people recently, and I had one potential client actually who came to me, and it was between me and another agency. And at the end of the day, she was like, we're going to go with the other agency because they're digital only. And I do a lot more like community building and, you know, like real human interaction. And I was like, okay, that's fine. Totally fine. But I think people are kind of sold on like, you have to be online, you have to be online, you have to be online. And I think it's really important what you're saying, because like, yes, you should have some sort of, you know, presence, and you do, but not if it's coming at the expense of actually making and building a relationship with someone.
Absolutely.
Like everything that you're going to need to do when you're launching a digital studio or launching a fitness class or anything, like launching any single brand, it needs to start with human beings that believe in your product. Like you're not going to get anywhere by throwing hundreds of dollars at sponsored posts if it's not landing with anyone. So
no,
I think that is an amazing way to look at it.
It's so important. And I really think that, you know, maybe this is where like, I'm looking at my gray hairs. No, I'm kidding. You know, my age like helps in that sense, that my first response is, you know, if you are coming to my Instagram because you need something, then you're missing out on who I am, right? If you are joining one of my classes because you need something, then that's exactly where you're going to get it, right? I obviously during the pandemic love teaching live workouts, love posting workouts that you can take with you to the gym. But in reality, you're not getting what I have to offer because I'm not talking you through a movement. I'm not, you know, adjusting those movements for you. You know, I think that's the biggest thing. And, you know, when I look at social media, when I look at the big numbers of like who's crushing it, you know, I also look, I'm like, but are they teaching any classes? Do they have any clients? Are they certified? Should they be putting up these posts?
Right.
So I definitely have a love-hate relationship when it comes to digital. I know it's something that I need to focus on. But I also know that I am in extremely small, meaning one woman show of a business. And I have to decide what it is I can handle, what it is I can fit on my plate, because what I don't want is to have so many things that I give, I'm half-assing everything. I
Yes.
really want to make sure that the things that I am doing, I'm crushing it. And if and when one, I have more of an opportunity to get more involved with something, or if I can actually have help, then it would be a game changer for me.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I'm a big proponent of like, if it's not 100%, it's 0%. And yeah, I very much, I agree with that completely.
Totally. Yeah.
So, I mean, from the outside, it looks like you have, a huge team of people doing it. Looks like you've got tech covered, press covered, all that. So, I've looked up recently, Ash Fit got amazing press. Like it's gotten really, really good press, which is
Again,
so
if you could see the smile on my face, it's huge.
it's so exciting. But I mean, you were just awarded the 2021 Best App for Abs Workout by Women's Health Mag. Congratulations.
Thank you.
It's so exciting. Do
Oh,
you do your own press targeting, or do people, just kind of reach out to you? Like, I know a lot of people that are getting started are like, there's this misconception that you have to pay a lot for press. And I always
right.
try to say, like, that's not true. So, what are your kind of recommendations and like, your best practices for press?
Yeah. It's a very tough, that's a very tough subject and a tough one to really understand. I will say that everything that you see is me behind the scenes. You know, every image that you see on my app, every video edit and countdown clock on my workouts. I mean, everything you see is me doing it. And let's be honest, they've grown and they've evolved and they've gotten better, including things like, how did you get involved with women's health? It was legitimately, me reaching out and be like, hey guys, I'm in Boulder, Colorado. I would love to teach a live workout. And then, getting that opportunity to do it and actually being involved in it. That's the biggest thing, right? So anything that I get involved in, it's not like, okay, thanks, bye, and then I'm out. Like if you go onto the women's health workouts, I do the workout and then I'm in the comments talking with people as much as I possibly can. And they're like, "Hey Ash, I can't do this. How can I modify this movement?" I'm either messaging with them individually or I'm like taking a video of me in the apartment like, "Okay, if you can't do your squat, here's what to do." Right? So it's for me it's much more important about like with that connection than it is to have the award, even though that's incredibly exciting. Media is very tough to navigate. And it really is about connecting with people and getting connected with others, which is incredibly hard when your phone is on airplane mode because you're filming 3 workouts during the day and your inbox is, I won't even tell you what it is, but there are 2 people in this world and I am not the one that has 0 in my inbox. It's really tough. So, I was at one point, I did have someone representing me, and I will say that where it can be incredibly awesome, you really have to make sure that you have the right people in your corner. If you decide to have representation, and a shameless plug here, if anyone would like to represent me, thank you very much, because I don't have that right now. And also, a big part of that is understanding where I'm going, right? So if I'm going to work with someone, I have to know what it is I'm doing, what direction I want to go in, what story I want to tell. Is it me or is it AshFit? Right? Is it group fitness or is it one-on-one training? So it's also, it's really important, regardless of whether you have that publicity, it's knowing where you're going. And I really do believe that whether you're in the press or not, if you really believe in where you're going, if you kind of like focus on that, things will happen. A year ago, one of my best friends, Matt, was like, you should do your own thing. And I'm not joking. If he listens to this, he'll remember when he said this to me. I said, absolutely not. I don't want to do my own thing. I want to record a workout. I want to leave it to everybody else to edit and to put up. And I want to like live my life a little bit and breathe. And 6 months later, I launched my app on the App Store. Right? Never say never, but you do have to really, once you decide to do something, you have to like kind of go all in with it.
Yeah, and I want to go back to something that you said that really just struck me of like you reached out to them and you were like, "Hey, I would love to do this." And I
Yeah.
think social media obviously has many downfalls. And one of them is that you're able to look at people and say, like, oh my God, they're so much further ahead than me, or they're getting all these things. Like, why am I not getting those things? And I think the most important thing that I've learned is like, because you're not asking for it. Like my mom always just said, she always used to say when I was growing up, she was like, women don't, and this is, obviously this is not totally true, but she was like, women just don't get as many opportunities because they don't ask for them. And like, you need to learn how to ask for opportunities. And, I think there's some truth to that, right? Where like people feel sometimes just a little nervous to say like,
Yeah.
hey, here I am. This is,
Yeah.
what I'm doing. And the like self-promotion is a bad word, but just being able to say like, hey, I'm here and I would like to contribute to your organization. Like,
Yeah.
let's talk is
self
so
self
meaningful.
advocating is so, it's so incredibly hard, right?
Mhm.
On the one hand, we're told to be humble and be grateful for everything that we're doing, you know and on the other hand, we're told that we shouldn't be bossy, shouldn't be, and I'll say it, bitchy, we shouldn't,
Yep.
we need to know our place, and we're being too much, right? So
Yep.
there's that balance
Yeah.
of, you know, being the like very grateful, wearing like the crown and being like, I'm just so happy that all of you guys are here for me. And then there's the other person that has to sit on a call and be like, actually, thank you so much for your interest. But like, if you're not going to pay me for this job, I am not doing this job. Right.
Yes.
It's a very fine line. And I will say it, as a woman, now as an entrepreneur and business owner, which I can't believe I've ever never thought I would be able to say that. It is incredibly hard to advocate for yourself.
Mhm.
And the best way to do it is to practice. And the best way to practice is to know that you are going to get way more no's than you are going to get yeses.
Yeah.
The amount of times that I've been told no, or just not received a response from someone reaching out to them, all the time.
Yeah.
And you can't take it personally. You really can't take it
Yeah.
personally, but you have to kind of learn from it, whether it be how you pitched yourself or the way that you went about it, and like get feedback from people too.
Mhm.
But the one thing I will say is go at it with a very genuine heart.
Mhm.
It's great to connect with people. It's great to network with people. But if it's not working for you, don't try to make it work. I am
Mhm.
not. I am one. I'm an introvert, which makes this incredibly hard. And two, you would never think it, but because I teach group fitness on a digital platform, but I am wildly an introvert. And two, I really hate sucking up to people. Like it's probably my least favorite thing to do. And I'm just not someone who's going to get into something because I think it's going to further my career, but I don't really want to be with them. Again,
Mhm.
the Ashley 3 years ago would have, right? But
Yeah.
but who I am now is very keen with walking away from things and saying no.
Yeah. I love that. So, okay, let's talk a little bit about we were talking about when to say to someone like, yes, I'll explore this, but are you paying me?
Mhm.
Like that, I think that I still struggle with that because I'm like, okay, well, will I get a potential client out of it? Or like, will there, potentially be some sort of revenue coming from this? But I'm still not great at saying like, yes, I'll do this speaking for this many dollars.
Right.
I mean, you said practice, which I think is a really good tip. What other sort of tips do you have maybe to sit for someone to ask for financial compensation for a partnership?
So I think the biggest thing is, one, just kind of like sit down and understand what your time is worth. And I think it's a really difficult space when you are a digital, and I put this again in the air quotes, influencer, right? And I've never considered myself an influencer. It is very much like I am a trainer, and this is what my time is worth. And I will say, look, a few months ago, I talked to a brand, and we had this really cool idea going on, and I broke down my hours and what it would cost for me to film and edit and co-brand, and I just never heard back from them. Like never heard back anything. And I put all this time into it. I will say though, is I was able to like take what I learned from that, and then I took it into my next meeting and my next email. And so I think there's a little bit of a really sit down and understand what your time is worth. Like, don't be a jerk about it, right? And it also depends on how much it really means to you, right? If it's a job that you kind of go and you're like, I'm going to stick it to them and try to make as much as I can, that comes across. It really does. But if you're someone who's like, look, this is a lot of work and I'm going to put a ton of work into it and effort, and I'm going to give a shit about it. But at the end of the day, like, here are what my numbers are. If that doesn't work for you, let's talk about it. I think that's the biggest thing, is making sure that it's like, it's communication going both ways, making sure that there's like that complementary piece. Yes, I want to work with you. I love where you guys are going. This is how I think that we can work well together. By the way, here's how much work it's going to take. Here's what it's going to cost. Let's talk about it. And I think that's, I mean, can we just say that that goes along with anything in life? Let's talk about it, because that's really what it is. You just have to have those conversations.
Yes. Yeah. And I mean, that was so golden. I'm just saying, like, I see where you're going. This is what it's going to require from me. We can make it happen, but it
Yeah.
needs to be a dynamic conversation. I think that, yeah, that's just so
Well,
amazing.
look at it. If you look at digital marketing, right? And I think this is, so if anyone is listening to this, that's like a potential, wants to get into business, wants to understand what influencing digital, whatever it is, you don't see how much work goes into these things, right? And that's why, look, I don't do a lot of sponsored posts. You can look at my Instagram. I think there's like 5 maybe, right? And those were the times where I was like, it would really be nice to be able to pay my rent this month. And, also it was a product that I wanted to use. But, what you don't see is my apartment filled with 6 different lights and everything's completely destroyed, but yet in camera view it's all clean and perfect, right? What you don't see is when my microphone goes out, my camera goes out. What you don't see are the 3 hours that it takes me to edit that video, what I have to pay for the music to license it to post the video. There's just so much that goes into it.
Yeah.
And I do think that if you're just very honest about those things when it comes to business, here's how long it takes me to do this, here's what my time is worth, then eventually, like, you will get paid for that.
Yeah.
And people will see that work going in.
Yeah, definitely. Oh, that's
There's
so
a lot of
important.
things that there's a lot of things that don't get paid for, though. There's a lot
Yeah.
of work and practice and effort that
Yeah.
get $0 on the hour,
Yeah.
and that's also equally as important as your paycheck.
Yeah. Yeah, totally. Well, what's that quote? Like, for every overnight success, there's 10 years of past hard work. Like,
Yep.
it's,
Yep.
especially when building a platform, when building a digital product, like, that's really,
Right.
there's a lot of unpaid time in the
Yeah, it's the
beginning.
metaphor. It's the metaphor of the iceberg. It's what
Yeah,
you see and what actually exists. And
exactly.
what you see is a cute little yellow app icon on your phone. And what you don't realize is that there's one person with the duck feet underneath the water going as fast as you can, right?
Yeah.
There's so many metaphors that go into it. But
Yeah.
yeah, there's so much more that goes into all of it than what
Yeah.
people realize.
All right. So before we get into our rapid fire questions, what is next for you now that we are entering, a hopefully post-COVID world? Are you super excited about in person? Would you ever consider an IRL Ashfit studio? I'm saying, please, please do
I
it.
just really wish people could see my face right now, because it's sheer terror. No, I'm kidding. Um, that I have no idea. And I love that to be the most honest and real I'm ever going to be with anyone.
Yeah.
Um, 3 years ago, my answer would have been totally different. 2 years ago, my answer would have been totally different. A year ago, I told my best friend that I would never, ever, ever, ever want my own digital platform. And here I am. Right. So to say that I know where I'm going is, a bunch of baloney. Right. And it's really hard to know where you're going. I think that the landscape has completely changed. I think that digital obviously had a huge moment and is still having a moment, but there is absolutely a space for in person. um, I have been doing this for a little while, and I will say that the shelf life of an in-person fitness instructor can be a little, that shelf life is a little short. I think that you get to a point where burnout is real. Teaching that 6 a.m. class involves a 4 a.m. wake up, involves vocal warm-ups, involves programming. And what you don't see is when you teach the 6 a.m., you teach the 7 p.m., and there's little sleep with it. And so I think as things reopen and as we get back to in real life workouts, and I think that I'm just kind of going to take it step by step. There's a part of me that will always want to be in person. I just don't know if that is going to be in person in a group fitness studio for a long time. I would love to have a family. I would love to have kids. And, those are all real things that you start thinking about as you get older. I want to spend more time with my family. I want to be there a little bit more. So obviously I can't be in a studio. So the answer is right now, AshFit is going to continue to grow. I'm excited about adding equipment and different modalities. I'm going to continue all my certifications, learning. I want to continue racing. So that's also another wrench that you have to, put in the mix, that I need time to rest and recover. And I definitely will have in-person classes both for AshFit, and I'll still continue to teach for Rumble at the time. And I can't wait to have this follow-up podcast in a year and it'd be completely different than anything we talked about today.
So for everybody listening, it just means take her class right now. All that means is it's incredibly important to get to her class.
I want to be in New York, but I also want to be in Utah doing an Ironman, and I want to be in LA, but I also want to be in New Orleans with my family. So, you just kind of have to decide.
Yeah. And it's funny with LA and New York, and I mean, especially New York, when there was just a mass exodus of everyone who could leave, right? Everyone who just worked from a laptop and they could go wherever they wanted. And then you had all these amazing companies where everyone was still there being like, well, we can't leave. Rumble's not going to pick up and move
their hands up in the air, wait, we're here.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's where
we pay a lot of rent over here.
That's where that digital piece is still going to be, important. Think about how many people that do not live in big cities that were able to access Rumble and, instructors they never met before. They're like, I'm not moving to New York, so you guys still need to do this. And
exactly.
Again, I think there's a space for both. And I think we'll continue to kind of feel it out over the next few months and the next few years and see how things kind of go back to quote unquote normal.
Yeah.
I don't think that's ever going to exist again.
Yeah. All right. Are you ready for rapid fire questions?
I think so. Did I just ramble so much, by the way?
No, not at all. Not at all. It was amazing. I mean, it's incredibly real things to think about. I know Megan Roop, right, is about to have her baby. And she's super transparent about the fact that she's a one-woman show. Her app is literally just her. For her to decide to have a baby is a huge deal. And it's just so important that we do talk about the shelf life of instructors, because it's you guys are real people and you want full, long lives. You work in fitness so that you're going to have a very long, healthy life. Your clients are going to have a long, healthy life. But then what? You can only teach for 10 years because it's making you burnt out. And you're, how many instructors do you know where they're getting vocal surgery right now?
Yeah.
Because they've been in fitness for 8 to 10 years and they can't even speak anymore. So it's there's definitely a conversation that needs to happen around, the way we're kind of letting instructors also have a life.
I think it's, personally taking responsibility for your well-being as well, right? Where before I used to teach 14 classes a week, 14 classes a week, 7 days, and I'd have 14 classes in person. But I made myself accessible, right? Where now I've just created this narrative that, hey guys, I'm going to give you 3 classes a week on my app. That's what I can do right now. I'm going to teach maybe 4 classes in person. Perfect, right? Because the other part of it, a lot of people are like, do you sleep? The answer is absolutely, right? I do sleep now. And I take naps now. And, I know that if I can do this, I can go for longer. If I can say, this is what I can give you, and I can probably do it over the next 10 years, but this is all I can give you to be able to do it. If not, I'm going to see you for 2 and I'm out. Right. So it's level setting in all areas of business.
Yeah, absolutely. Which is, so important. Okay. I'm going to do it. What's your absolute favorite way to sweat?
I get so nervous with these, by the way. Again, my weird facial expressions, the weird hand motions that no one's
do not be nervous.
Oh, you know what it is? I honestly, it's a little bit of like PTSD from when I did pageants and you had to do on stage questions.
Mm, okay.
If
That's okay.
anyone
This is no
knows the
pressure.
story, when I did Miss Louisiana, I made like, do you remember Lilo and Stitch?
Yeah.
Right. So I did the Stitch voice on stage. And
Love that so much.
it really happened.
I mean,
Like,
you're here to tell the tale, so it's okay.
so I really do think that there's those moments I break out in hives, I get nervous. Okay, I'm ready.
These are very low stress.
I'm also
Yes,
Pisces and I'm
favorite way.
incredibly indecisive. So everything
Okay.
can have two answers. You're welcome.
That's fine. Favorite way to sweat.
I love being outside.
Mhm.
So it's either running or biking. Like I love like going places and seeing things.
Yeah,
Love dumbbells, love weights, but I would have to say it's either running or cycling.
love it. Your favorite song to work out to, like just the one that gets you hyped.
I'm just gonna go with the first one, and it's The Weekend. And now like my brain completely spaced on it. Oh my gosh. Blinding Light.
Blinding
Thank you very
Lights.
much. So it is like, for some reason, it was my song when I was training for my Ironman, when I had to get over the Williamsburg Bridge, like from Manhattan to Williamsburg, because it's like that pretty long. I would put it on and it's like, I'm not even going to sing. I'm going to stop right there, but play it next time you're in a run and you're just going to
Yes.
like float. It's
I love that. I have a playlist running of everyone's
oldie but goodie.
response to that, and it's the best playlist.
Can you share that playlist, please and thank you?
It's so good. Every song, I'm like, every single song, I feel like I'm at the end of a marathon. And it's just like it keeps going.
I mean, it's truly the greatest.
So fun. Software that you can't live without.
Software, like my iPhone. Does that
Yeah.
count?
Yeah.
I literally couldn't live without my phone.
Yeah. Totally counts.
Ashfit runs off of a, little 6-inch digital screen completely.
I love that. What a world we live in. What's the best business advice you ever got?
Never be the smartest person in the room. Never want to be the smartest person in the room. It was, somebody told me that once before, because I was just so used to, as an athlete, you want to win and you want the blue ribbon and you want the trophy. And the reality is surround yourself with people that know more than you, that have done more than you, that are more experienced, because it's only gonna make you stronger and smarter. And the best thing someone told me.
That's amazing.
Yes, I love
If you could live anywhere in the world that is not New York, where would it be?
Impossible question. I'll be very vague, but I would live on a beach. I still say Costa Rica because it was the first place I learned to surf. But I think there's so many places I have not yet seen. Mm-hmm. So I will say it's probably somewhere on a beach.
Love it. Dream job besides what you're doing right now?
So to go along with the beach, I would love, I've always said this, it's kind of crazy that I said this, but before a few years ago, I was like, if the world went to hell in a handbasket, can't believe I said that, and it kind of happened. I would move to a beach place and I would either do workouts on the beach, like teach surfing, own like a juice bar, a little like smoothie hut bar on the beach, and never put shoes on again.
I love it. I see this like Ashfit wellness retreat in like Tulum, and I am down for it. I'll go. Sign me up. Let me know when you launch that.
Can I just say, stay tuned? Okay,
I'm signed up. Like definitely going to that. Okay. The last one. You're crushing it already. You're doing so great. What is one lesson that you took from 2020 that you want to keep with you?
Oh, my heart just got so heavy. Time is so short. There is so much living and not enough. Sorry, I said that backwards. There's so much time and not enough life. There's so much time and there's not enough life. There's like everything around us is going to continue to exist, but we only have a short amount of time to enjoy it. And, it was a tough year for all of us. I think we all had those moments of heavy and, making it through. And, look, my family is the number one most important part of my life. And the past year, my dad got some some health news that wasn't very exciting. And, my brother's a police officer. And I think just kind of like having that reality of like making sure that they're okay and wanting to take care of them. And in order to do that, I have to work a little bit, but I also want to make sure that I'm living it with them as well. So yeah, that's it. Make sure you live, because there's too much time.
Yeah.
But a little bit more life.
I love that. Where can
Yeah.
everybody find you right now? Like on Instagram?
Well,
How do they take your class?
I say my Instagram, but I also admitted that it was the worst, that I'm not putting 100% effort.
It's really not the worst, you guys. It's a good one. I really like.
No, I may not. I don't actively post right now because I just don't have enough. I don't have a tab that is open for Instagram at the moment. But Instagram, I'm on it. So like connect with me, reach out to me, talk to me. Ashfit on demand. I still can't believe I have an app and I'm a small business owner. I teach IRL for Rumble and for Equinox Plus, and so many more things coming on the Ashfit front, which I wish I could say I gave a little bit of a heads up, but retreat might be happening. So stay tuned.
I can't wait to take your class. I'm so excited. I'm very excited.
I just can't wait to hug everyone. I can't wait to hug everybody that is the Southerner in me. Like, let's just get back to hugs. Those are great.
I agree. Thank you so much.
Oh my God, this is the best.